No, go away. You're in trouble. Okay, you can get hired.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm Michelle Gumbs, Chair of Legislative Committee, and we're going to call the Legislative Committee to order. Time being 10:14. Roll call, please.
Allen. Bates.
It's here.
Brown.
Brown here.
Silva.
Silva is here.
Wallace.
Wallace here.
Shepro. Pirog. Strathman.
Strathman here.
Gums.
Comes here.
You have a quorum.
Very good. First, welcome, Mr. Wallace.
Thank you.
We have an interesting legislative committee. Apparently, we're doing lots of different things than we used to, so I learn as we go, right, Cheryl?
Absolutely.
We have a great team, though, so welcome.
Thank you.
Do we have any approval of minutes for June 16, 2021? A motion and a second, please.
Bates.
Brown second.
Bates moves, Brown seconds. Roll call.
Allen. Bates.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Wallace. Wallace.
Yes.
Gums.
Yes.
Strathman.
Yes.
Passes.
For attendance, Shepro present. I apologize. I stepped out of the room.
Thank you, Mr. Shepro.
Excellent. I don't believe we have any public comment at all. There's none signed up. Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to old business. There is none. Happy Wednesday. We do have some new business, and thank you to Commissioner Froz for bringing this up and working with me to get some folks here to discuss this, because we're going to be asking for an action. Our team does lots of action, so we contact and get things done and support what's benefiting the county. So we're going to turn it over to Mr. Rickert from KDOT and his team, and the floor is yours. Thank
All right.
you.
Well, thank you for the invite to present before this committee. I'm going to spend a couple minutes just talking about two of the projects. But before I start that, I do want to introduce some individuals. To my far left is Jennifer O'Connell. She is one of our senior project managers. She's a design engineer, professional engineer on our staff, and does quite a few of our projects. It happens to be that the two projects we're going to discuss this morning, she is the design manager for those projects. Moving on, Jennifer Becker is here too. Jennifer is our Deputy Chief of Staff. Carl and I, she is our right-hand person and assists us in quite a few of our various efforts and a lot of our legislative efforts. Her, as well as our Chief of Planning and Programming, Jackie Forbes, those two individuals take the lead in these two projects. Jennifer Becker was the primary person that assisted me in coordinating with our legislative representatives in Congress to move these two projects forward. And so I thought I'd better bring them primarily because Jennifer O'Connell is, again, the engineer and design aspects. And if I say anything correctly or if I need some assistance, she's here to help me there. And then Jennifer Becker in the same aspect with a lot of the policy aspects. She keeps me in line. So I felt like I better have them here and also just introduce them because while you see Carl and I quite often at various meetings, we have quite a few other people that actually do the work. So that's the reason they're here.
Guys.
So just moving on, I wanted to talk a little bit about background. It's great that we actually have an opportunity to have earmark consideration at this point in time. I think most of you understand and realize that for over 20 years now, there have been no earmarks. Back, I think right when the Obama administration started, it was felt that it was necessary to remove earmarks and really move towards the metrics of looking at projects and the regional, at the national, state, and regional level, what the needs were, and that the monies be focused on where they were needed. And so for almost over 20 years now, we have not done earmarks directly. We've gone and to a process that focuses on the various funding sources. Just a couple examples are the Surface Transportation Program funds, the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality funds, Transportation Enhancement funds. There's various funding sources of federal funds out there. And a lot of that happens at CMAP, the Chicago, I just forgot the acronym, Metropolitan Agency for Planning. A lot of that occurs at that level where the federal funds come to CMAP and to the state of Illinois, and we do direct applications now with those two agencies and go after and seek those federal funds. There are a couple other programs like in the past there was Tiger. I don't know what that stands for anymore, and BUILD. There were different federal acronyms where we could submit directly to the US DOT and seek funds. But it was very rare in the last 20 years that we in Kane County received any of those funds. Usually at the federal level, you would get one or two projects for the state of Illinois through those application processes. Kane County did a number of years ago, within the last 5 years, we received in Elgin the Metra Bridge replacement costs, and that was a significant cost. It was, I believe, almost $100 million. And so we have received some of those federal funds. They've become available for Kane, but there are a lot of needs that are still at the local level that are difficult to be addressed. And when you look at the metrics in Kane County as far as needs, we're competing, and I don't want to make this a competition, quote unquote, with other agencies, but there are areas of northeastern Illinois, the Chicago region, that really needs these funds because of deteriorating infrastructure and such. And so in recent years, in the last 20 years, it's been a little bit more difficult. We do receive federal funds. I think CMAP and the state of Illinois do a good job in trying to make sure that there's regional equity and that Kane County gets different federal funds that are available. At the same time, it's also nice to see for the first time in 20 years, to see these member designated projects where essentially what occurred was back in about the late March, early April timeframe, our congressional districts were basically told that to look at about $15 to $20 million worth of federal earmarks and to evaluate projects that could be considered in a process as part of what the House eventually called an Invest in America Act. And so that act was just recently approved. As part of the consideration, we did talk to all our congressional leaders within Kane County. There were a number of rules that were attached to being able to be considered. One of the significant rules is that you had to be within the Transportation Improvement Program. You had to be within the state and the regional TIP is what they call it. Generally, that means that you're generally completed with phase 1 engineering, and this project is real, it is moving forward. And so we at the county level, I worked with the county engineer and with the chair and the county board chair, and we looked at, okay, what projects are available that are in the TIP that would meet the criteria for consideration. Many of the projects that were in the various districts, Kristen Morthy, Congressman Kristen Morthy, and Foster, Congressman Foster. Many of those projects, we didn't have specifically any county projects. They were primarily municipal projects that were submitted. And so the two projects that we ultimately came up with came in Congresswoman Underwood's district and Congressman Caston's district. And we did submit a number of projects and worked with congressional staff to look at the projects that floated to the top. In the 6th district, Caston's district, we looked at Randall at Big Timber, Randall at Illinois 72, and Randall at Hops. Ultimately, Randall at Hops was the project that was considered for moving forward. And then in the 14th district, we worked with Congresswoman Underwood's staff, and we submitted the Doberman extension. If you're aware of that, that's where Doberman Road is being extended down to Granite Road. We looked at the Bliss Main Fabian intersection improvement. And then we kind of looked at a project more in the development stage, the Fabian at Illinois 31 project. It wasn't yet within the TIP, so it didn't make the full consideration, but we also knew it was an important project for the region to try to look at how to address some of the safety concerns there. We are currently working with IDOT and trying to figure out some design alternatives for that intersection, but it dropped almost immediately from consideration. Ultimately, the project that was approved for moving forward for evaluation was the Bliss Main Fabian intersection. And so that's essentially where we're at. We're going to talk a little bit then about the, I apologize. Again, there's a number of considerations that had to be considered or evaluated, and that was, as I mentioned, the TIP. There's also the various funding sources. We had to pull together letters of support and descriptions of the public process to make sure that that was a consideration. All these projects, since they are part of, they were developed in order to be considered for federal funds if federal funds ever became available. And because of that, all these projects had in place a public process. And then the environmental aspects too was a consideration. Moving on, the two projects that are moving forward that are actually in the adopted House Bill Invest in America Act. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Bliss Road at Main Street. Bliss Road to Main Street at Fabian Parkway. This is a project that's been under development for about 20 years. I share that in the aspect of just letting you know that these projects take time. They generally do not take less than 5 years to happen. They generally take anywhere from 10 to 20 years to occur. So this project started probably close to 20 years ago with a lot of consideration and coordination with the Forest Preserve and with the Batavia Park District. In the acquisition of some Forest Preserve land, the county actually paid for the right-of-way up front as part of the acquisition process that also helped to spread out funds available for the Forest Preserve. And we also did intergovernmental agreements with the Forest Preserve and the Park District over the last 20 years. We are now in the final stages of trying to make this a live project. Phase 1 and Phase 2 engineering and land acquisition are all complete. Everything is complete on this. We just need to construct it. And so our primary focus was on trying to get funding for this project. This project is estimated to be about $14 million in cost. And so we sought funding for about half of that cost. And that was what was approved under the vetting, under the Congresswoman's vetting of the various projects from her district. There are, if you go to her website, there is a number of press releases, and one of them that was released on July 1st actually goes into the various projects that are part of her consideration, and we do have a couple projects in here that are of interest to Kane County, primarily our project for $7 million, as well as Batavia also has the Main Street reconstruction project from Randall Road to Van Nortwick Avenue. And then there's also the US 20 at Ranking Road roundabout in the city of Elgin. And so those are the projects within Kane. There are a number of other projects, about 10 projects within her district that were selected. So this project is of primary interest to us, again, because we're coming to fruition, as well as it has a significant amount of benefit. Bliss Road and Fabian Parkway are both arterial roadways, and these roads connect the Sugar Grove area to the Tri-City area, as well as there's some safety benefit and capacity aspects of the ultimate design for this intersection. I'm going to show it to you real quick. If you look at the top, you'll see that there's a roundabout design that reduces accidents by anywhere from 80 to 85%, as well as the realignment to Bliss Road so that you're not double loading Main Street in between Bliss and Fabian Parkway. So there's a lot of safety and capacity aspects to this, as well as it's a regional project that benefits a number of communities. We've also coordinated and I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, but I think we've planted trees within the Elburn Forest Preserve. We paid the monies in order to accomplish that. Is that correct?
That's right. We planted 400 trees at the Elburn Forest Preserve in preparation to mitigate for the trees that may be lost during the construction of the realigned Bliss Road.
So that's generally a requirement, is mitigation of trees for a lot of our projects. And so this project, as Jen said, 400 trees were supposed to be mitigated as part of this project. The Forest Preserve selected the Elburn Forest Preserve in order to have the mitigation occur at that location.
Microphone.
Funded that locally in advance of the construction of the project to make sure that the trees had time to establish themselves.
Excellent.
So I think that's a general overview of the project. If there's, Jen, if there's anything that you wanted to highlight in addition to what I said, that'd be fine.
I just really have to say, I think this is an exciting project for Kane County. It provides this north-south corridor in the central part of our county between Illinois Route 47 and Randall Road. It's really will help, I hope, help alleviate traffic on those other two main north-south corridors in our county as people find a more central north-south corridor to traverse from north to south. And I do believe that the safety aspect is pretty exciting too. We experience a lot of rear end crashes at that double light section. There's only a quarter mile that separates those two signals right there. We get a lot of rear end crashes in that short segment there. And the partnership that Tom mentioned with the Forest Preserve and the Batavia Park District is pretty exciting too, because both of those agencies are very much in support of this project, and they'll use this project as a catalyst to advance the development of West Main Park there. They have some exciting plans for the future for that park.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Bates.
Bates, please. So I'm a little confused because I thought Fabian went east and west.
It does,
does.
except for this
Which
west.
way is north on this picture?
Yeah.
Is this,
North is up in the slide there. If you're
Okay.
looking at the engineering plan, it's to the right.
okay.
So you might want to switch it up, but
Do that?
you're exactly right. Fabian goes east-west as you continue to traverse north. It does make a swooping S curve, and further south here, it goes north-south.
Okay, so the north-south new pathway is Fabian and Bliss.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. We'll eliminate Main Street, like Tom said.
So you're bending Bliss? Bliss is gonna,
We're bending Bliss. That's right. We're going to call it. Yeah, that's exactly right. It'll be realigned. Yeah,
Okay.
to match up with Fabian Parkway as it tees into Main Street there.
awesome.
The old Bliss location to the west, where there is currently a signal, that signal will be removed, and Old Bliss will have very few trips on it. So the signal is no longer needed. So we'll have the two signals removed, which are just temporary signals anyway, and then the roundabout will be for the more regional arterial traffic. So that's a presentation of that project. I'm going to move on to, unless there's any questions about this project, I'm going to move on to the second project. And that's Randall Road at Hops Road. This is also a project that, as I mentioned prior, we also considered a couple other projects that we submitted for the staff of Congressman Caston to review and consider. This project has also been it's not in development, but it's not as far along. The only thing that we have completed currently, or at least near completion, is the phase 1 engineering. So we have not started phase 2 engineering or land acquisition yet on this project. But it is a project that's been under consideration for a very long time, even prior to, well, let me say it probably was under consideration in the late 80s. And that was because at the time, the village of South Elgin and the county and the city of Elgin, we did a joint project on Hops Road to the east of Randall Road, where we widened it to a 3-lane cross-section using federal funds. And the intersection was part of the phase 1 engineering, but it could not be part of the overall project because there wasn't enough money to build the intersection at the time. And so we've been really trying to figure out a way to get this intersection constructed. We do have some concerns out there with the alignment of the intersection. So this would realign the intersection, and I'm going to go to the next slide and just show it to you. But we would be creating better angles for the intersection and improving safety, as well as having three through lanes in each direction that would be added to Randall Road. The intersection is the primary aspect of this project. Our phase 1 engineering also includes a grade separation of the railroad tracks further to the south, as well as Geyer Boulevard intersection improvements all the way to the south. Our focus, a lot of our projects, because they are so costly, we try to break them up into segments, and our focus on this project is only the intersection of Hops and Randall, which is the north part of this improvement that you see here, the conceptual improvement. The amount that we requested, as you see on here, was we requested $5 million out of almost a $10 million project. And this is part of the Invest in America Act. The $5 million did move forward and was approved as part of the distribution for this district. There is on Caston's website, there is a press release again for July 1st that goes through all the various projects that were approved in his district. And the primary project again is this project, Randall at Hops, as well as the Village of South Elgin received a Spring Street resurfacing project that was included as part of the overall projects for his district. Yes.
I just wanted to mention also that Senator Durbin did have a similar call for projects for these types of earmark projects, and we did submit these projects through his office for consideration in an attempt to keep these projects, in the eyes of the Congress. So that was part of the strategy for continuity.
Yeah, I think it's we're at a certain point, and that's probably a good segue, unless there's any questions about this project. Yes.
Ms. Bates.
Did you consider a roundabout for this one? Is there some engineering reason? Or?
And
Look
Jen,
at, she's so happy to have these questions.
Jen can correct me on this, but historically, and Jen and I were actually talking about this yesterday for another project where it's very difficult on these major arterials where you have over 50,000 cars a day for roundabouts. It doesn't mean that you can't consider it and evaluate it, and we might in the future, but in this situation, we just felt like it was best to, there's already a signal at that location, and you're pushing the capacity potentially of a roundabout. I think we felt like it would be best just to continue forward with the signal improvements.
Yeah, Tom's exactly right. The capacity for a roundabout, especially here in King County, where we're only experienced with a single lane roundabout, and Randall Road carrying 50,000 cars a day, and we're building out 3 lanes along here. This multi-lane roundabout just isn't something we're very experienced with as drivers here.
So
And
we're not skilled here yet.
Wait,
on those.
maybe one day.
One day.
Yeah,
yes.
but however, we did go through a very thorough alternatives analysis on this project. And what you're seeing here is our preferred concept, but we had many, many other concepts we were toying around with. It involved splitting Hops Road and connecting them at different points on Randall Road. It involved an overpass, an underpass. And there was one or two, we tried to squeeze a roundabout in there somewhere. I believe there was a roundabout connecting Hops Road in one location, just in one direction to Randall Road. And it didn't find itself viable once we went through the analysis regarding cost, capacity, safety, construction, staging. It just wasn't a viable alternative for this location.
Thank you.
Not up for the challenge, huh?
Any other questions on this project?
Do we have any questions online at all?
So the only thing that I was going to just kind of finish with is a segue from what Jennifer Becker had mentioned in regards to we did submit these projects to Durbin's office. There are different processes between how the House approaches these major infrastructure bills, as well as how the Senate approaches it. And a lot of times there then becomes an effort of the House, the Senate, as well as the president to work on the major bill component. And so I think a lot of you have probably heard that there's actually a test vote that's supposed to occur today. And so I don't know if it will or not, but there's at least that consideration going on. These projects continue to be part of the overall discussion of the overall infrastructure bill. My understanding is that the Senate and the House are very desirable of having something before the recess on August 9th. And so they're really hoping for an August 1st or sometime before August 9th, a vote on the infrastructure bill. These things are, they seem that it seems like there's some promising aspects to that, as well as some concerns. But we need to all continue to support it and continue to try to move the infrastructure bill forward. This effort has been a long time coming, and this is typical with transportation infrastructure bills, where what they do is they typically just pass continuing extensions. And I think now we're in maybe year 5 or year 6 of an extension of the FAST Act. So a lot of people have a desire to make sure that we do get, or that we do have a new infrastructure bill for the president's signature here in the short term. And so again, hopefully this is occurring in the short term here before the August 9th recess. If that doesn't occur, there are different approaches to help ensure that these efforts continue, including no August 9th recess or an extension of the current act. So that's all under consideration, and there continues to be efforts to put these out front for the public as well as for policymakers to know what's going on. I believe there is a press. Congresswoman Underwood is presenting her projects, including Bliss Main Fabian on Friday, and our Madam Chair will be there. So there's a lot going on with this right now, and I think that sort of completes my report, unless anybody else has questions for me.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Bates.
Ms. Bates, is there anything we can do in all of these bills to maybe speed up do you want to finish my sentence? To speed up a sound barrier wall for Orchard Road? I just want to get this in the minutes.
Yeah, not in these bills. The projects that are earmarks in here are predetermined. At the same time, as you're aware, it is in the state's capital bill that effort, as well as I probably didn't bring it with me this morning, but I do have a draft intergovernmental agreement that we're working with the city of Elgin on for that consideration. And so it is.
City of Aurora.
City of Aurora, sorry.
Okay, good. Wrong, that's fine. Good.
So it is moving forward, and part of that is also some of the revenues are yet to be collected, but it is moving forward. We're drafting the intergovernmental agreement so that everybody knows their share. We've adopted it. The county board adopted the county's portion of that project within our transportation improvement program.
Mhm.
So it is moving forward.
Thank you. I'm not an imposter. This is the real Mavis, so you can tell.
Excellent. Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Thank you. Just as Mavis, I'd like to get on the record also that I'm also pushing for the intersection of Fabian and Route 31. So I know you're working on that. I know the funding's not been established yet, but I'm certainly pushing for that one, as I think Madam Chair may be as well.
turned into transportation and development.
If I may, I was knowing about the project and the public comment about that project. And this week I was traveling down Fabian and unintentionally realizing I had to make a left-hand turn onto 31. So I'm the first one up at the light, and I see this rush of cars at me as they're making the turn as they are going west. And took me pause. I went, oh. that was my reaction. Oh, because it looks like they're charging right at you, and any misstep from those individuals as they're going along, doing their business, driving, could have plowed into anybody's car, including mine, waiting at that light to make the left-hand turn. It's terrifying.
Yeah, and just process-wise, so everybody understands, I mean, I did mention it takes time. And in that aspect, we have gone after some incremental efforts with the state of Illinois. We've done, I think, twice some incremental safety improvements in that intersection over the last 10 years. There's currently one that was being completed this summer. I don't know where that's at. If either of you two do, speak up, but there are some improvements going in this summer at that location. And then we have started the feasibility study, as you mentioned, where we're looking at a complete overhaul of the intersection. That could cost tens of millions of dollars. You're talking probably close to $15-20 million, maybe more if we have to get into the bridge structure. And because of that, we do need to start preparing that project, and it could take 5 to 10 years to put together a funding package. And probably the next infrastructure bill is where we would try to either at the state level, since the state of Illinois does own the jurisdiction of that intersection, or at the federal level, try to get that project in there. It will be more than the county has in local funds, because on an annual basis, we probably have about $2 to $3 million a year available, not much. And so we do have to go after those state and federal dollars to assist with major projects like that.
Yeah. The two projects that you've brought up were considered as part of our, our strategy for making these grant applications, but it's not that the projects aren't worthy. They just didn't check those boxes or meet the timing requirements for being able to spend the money within a certain period of time. So all these worthy projects were considered, but these were the ones that, met the requirements.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you guys being here today. It really means a lot. On the legislative committee, it's kind of interesting because you want people our board members and the community to know our partnerships with our legislators matter. Getting these projects done, having relationships with them. And on this committee, we reach out to them regularly. We're trying to create relationships. So when something comes up in 10 or 15 years, they've already got a relationship with us and understand what's going on. So I really appreciate you putting this out for the board members and also for those in the public that are watching, so they understand what we do, because a lot of folks don't really understand micro aspects of what the county does. So bringing this forth means a lot to me. I greatly appreciate you being here. And if you ever have anything else, bring it to me. I tell everybody that all the time. Bring me stuff. So thank you, Mr. Frost, by the way.
Yeah, I just like to add too, if there's anything, I brought copies of our Council of Mayors newsletter, which my staff produces. It talks about funding opportunities as well as different things occurring on the regional level. I work very closely with Madam Chair in regards to CMAP and our regional efforts, and also in regards to ISACO and those efforts. And so I do try to a few times a year, 2 or 3 times a year, try to get to legislative if I don't have any competing meetings I have to be at. And I will try to make sure that you're aware in the future of different opportunities and different efforts that are ongoing.
Excellent. Thank you. Let's see, where are we here? Do we have any comments from our co-chair? I think we do.
Yes, and a perfect segue.
Yes.
this spring, traditionally there has been a coffee with the legislators so we could, get to know them and they could get to know us. And because of the pandemic, like a lot of things, we weren't able to do that. So Michelle and I have talked this over and we're creating a legislative roadshow. And we are going to go out and we're going to be meeting with all the local legislators while they're on recess from Springfield. And I have secured King County coffee cups so that we can take to them. I have a letter going out to all the department heads asking if they want to contribute anything. And we're going to take a little goodie bag to them. And Michelle knows people in the south of the county. I know people in the north of the county. We're going to go together and we're going to take our show on the road. So we
Watch out.
So we're going to be hoping to establish and cement that relationship so that when we need them, they have a face to put to King County or a couple of faces to put to King County. And so any suggestions about things you might want to, put in our ear to take to them while we do this, you can contact either Michelle or myself and we'll try to get that on. But we're going to be doing that. We're getting that started now.
Yes, we're not sure what to drive yet. We need the fun vehicle.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. Ms. Bates.
Basically, I'd like to go with you if possible, if the calendar allows. The roadshow.
I think that we'd have to talk about the Open Meetings Act with that.
Open
So,
Meetings Act.
but
So if somebody, like if I can't go or.
yeah.
Excellent. Do you have any questions? Yes.
I have a comment. That's a lovely idea. I think it's worthy. It's definitely a worthy idea, and I'm so happy you're bringing the coffee cups with you. But I would like to ask our department heads to put together for you, and then maybe we can put together a nice brochure of a highlight of the work the board is looking at doing, and of the needs we have via our department heads for potential funding or things that they should be aware of so that they are left with an ask. These are the things that we would like to have you consider going into the future. These are the reasons why we need this and how can you be of help? So that these are talking points then that we can go back to them at a later date, more specifically as the projects are fully developed, to say, now we have our specific funding needs in mind, and this is what we would love to have from you.
That would be extremely welcomed.
So maybe if you would like, I can do that from my office and certainly send it to you, or you feel free to work with staff upstairs and they can help you put that together as well.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah, don't go empty-handed.
Well, that was the idea with the coffee mugs, but we'll give the coffee mug and by the way.
And by the way, these are things we'd like you to consider.
Yes. But we want them to know that we're here and we're active and we want relationships. So that's an excellent idea. Excellent. Thank you.
My old grant writing jobs.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I've, when I had my business, my consulting business, I did a number of grants and solicitation and cultivation. So donor cultivation was a specialty. Just so you know.
Keeping that in mind.
I bring skills to the table.
We have no need for executive session. So I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Brown moves.
Brown moves.
Strathman second.
Strathman seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it and have a great Wednesday. It's kind of gloomy out, but